This is a show about facing fear, unlocking courage, and taking action.
Courage isn't necessarily a daunting thing.
It's going to give you more purpose. It's going to give you more drive.
It feels like making a courageous decision is going to get you closer to who you aspire to be.
It's knowledge plus faith plus action equals courage.
You know, it's like, well, why change? This is pretty good. This will do. I don't need to do anything else. I'm kind of comfortable where I am and I should be fine. And it's like, well, that's fear. That's fear telling you that the unknown is so terrifying that you're not going to try something.
This is a combo, so we can like, that's the beauty of this. Nobody needs to tell you or me where to start. Why do you need to start? We can just jump right in. And
that's right.
The world, and that is I think that's like, I really am excited for our conversation because this is like the scene in Jaws where the two guys show each other all the scars they've got. Right? And it's like, let me show you this one over here behind my shoulder. And what do you think about this one down here, down the line? And I think there is a true appreciation and mutual respect. I love what you're doing now. And you can only get to now from going through what you've gone through. And so, you know, to back up, because if someone's listening, they've already read that Terrace Weiner is here today. If you haven't checked out fear-incorporated.com, go check it out. And as Terrace didn't ask me to plug it, but it's always good to get plugged in the first minute than the last minute. So
awesome.
I'm going to do that
Thank
now.
You.
Now, this is why I would say I've probably done the least amount of preparation for our chat. And that is not a disrespectful slight. It is, we've lived in the same shoes. We've both kind of gone through a similar journey. I think this is the journey, and call me off, Terrace, if I'm off on this, okay? If our journeys was a book, chapter 1 would be, this is amazing. This is amazing is a chapter of how you first get into the world of ideas, and you stumble through, and somehow, somewhere, someone takes a shot on you, and you get a chance to be a creator. And maybe you're not a chief creative officer, you're probably like a junior copywriter, but you're like, holy shit, I am in. I made it. I'm in. And so chapter 1 is like, this is amazing. Every day I get to come to work. I'm not wearing khakis. That's a win. And I just get to like be around really interesting people and create, which is what the world of advertising at least used to be.
Yeah.
Is that how you see chapter 1?
I think that's right, Ryan. First, thanks for having me. This is terrific, and thanks for the plug. You know, I think the journey did start there. It was just this chance to make things, the chance to create and to get a response, to connect with people and do something and then see a reaction, right? And I think that's the best advertising that taps into that truth, that gets people to believe and go, did you see that thing? And that's what every creative wants to do, whatever they want to make.
And I think all it is like, there's an acknowledgement that when you're not there to defend an idea, and you can actually short circuit somebody that was in a bar or at home and make them stop and think, or maybe Google or text or go, that was actually pretty good. Actually pretty good is the pinnacle of compliments in commercial land or advertising. No?
Of course. Yeah. You know, the public doesn't care. They're not thinking about a brand. People aren't friends with brands as much as we want to believe in the world of social media and that we can get people to follow a brand. Only the best have achieved something like that. But even then, we don't spend our days thinking about what brands are doing. And, you know, just getting a response, getting that's cool, you know, and, you know, that's even the best responses we get from our friends as well, you know, make them chuckle, make them smile, and, you know, have them, you know, start a conversation with someone. And I think that's a really great way to spend the day.
I totally agree that like, like there it is, whatever that was. Hopefully the audio picked it up. Like that's what we're going for here. And I think there's like an arc of about 2 years where you're like, this is amazing. It might be a year. That chapter 1 is just full of optimism that you could actually do this for a living. And then somewhere, chapter 2 starts to show its face, and it's like, this is a concern. This is a concern, and the amount of time and energy it takes to have knife fights inside agencies, subjective knife fights, guys. This isn't in at least the agency I was at. And the amount of politics or trying to get the best work through, the amount of time or the best work through, and you'd have teams and teams and teams and teams and teams working on work to get your work outside your own doors. To get success was your idea got presented.
Yeah.
That's a victory.
You're absolutely right, Ryan. You get met very early on. Well, not just the business side, because it is, I think the business, some of the best business people that I've met, and probably you as well, have been the most fearless, right? Have been the most courageous. When I look at all those what ifs that happen in the room before you go in, is really those small little cuts that slowly deconstructs the strength of an idea. And it's those little moments of fear, those little moments of anxiety that it's like, well, we could lose the account, or they might not like us, or they might not have us back, or we really have to win this. How many times have you heard a new business pitch, we really have to win this? It's like, well, we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit here, aren't we?
It's just like normal, just another day with the record. We have to win this. And by the way, let me make this clear. I love the idea of business. I'm not sure if you still feel this way. It's and I'm an optimist, but like, I love that we get to do this. I would be very bored very easily doing other things. But like, again, in the arc of like, when Ryan Berman had hair and was skinny, chapter 1 was, this is amazing. And chapter 2 is sort of that sort of, it wasn't, the ink was not dry. It was sort of like, wait a minute, this is a concern, right? This is a concern. And then chapter 3 for me was, this is a problem. This is a problem. Like, we would finally get our stuff out the door, and then we had new problems called our clients' problems, and they had fear, and they were afraid, and they weren't sure if they should go with the bold idea or the safe idea, or maybe we just change 1 or 2 words. That doesn't really change the idea, does it? Just 100%, but it does change the idea.
Mash these 2 ideas together.
We love this idea, and my wife loved that idea.
Right.
Let's bring those together. No, different idea. This is a problem. Is that similar to what you saw as your chapter 3?
Yeah, I was always drawn to founders and people who were setting their own vision. So it took me a little longer perhaps to get there. I think working for the Cliff Freemans and the Andy Berlins and the Bob Greenbergs, where it's like, wow, they are setting the vision. Our job is to fulfill that vision. And it became very clear the implementation of a really great vision becomes a really awesome job. And I was just always loved that. I think where we find a problem, or where I found a huge problem, like you're setting up in chapter 3, is where you see a lot of the, like the larger agencies that are, starting to contract. And as they contract, everything contracts. Their sphincter contracts. And what are we going to do now? And those are the times when they should really be leaning in and doing the most interesting, different things. But yet they just question every decision. And, it really is a really tragic race to the bottom then.
And then we kind of, by the way, let me make this clear. This book is not your story. These chapters are mine. I'm curious on if it does hit home, but I'm curious, where your chapters might change. My next chapter, I went from this is amazing to this is a concern to this is a problem to a very deep, dark place. It was my dark night of the soul where I was like, this is my life. And this is my life. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, what did I sign up for? I clearly played all the political games wrong. I'm not getting any good briefs. I felt like I was a victim. These are all the things that like I was telling myself. And I remember Gravity winning and me feeling like shit on a regular basis that I had surrendered. I had surrendered at that moment, and all that optimism I had, I couldn't see any way out other than to feel bad for myself as a
Huh.
victim. That's where I landed. I was like, I'll
Yeah.
just take whatever brief they give me. This is so subjective. This person clearly doesn't like me. They've never even worked with me. And it's like negative self-talk, self-talk, self-talk. And I remember the cycle very, very well.
Yeah. I understand that. And I did experience that. A lot of though is something that I found really interesting as I got further along in my career. And even as I succeeded, right? Even as I became like chief creative officer and all these different big jobs that we always wanted, I always had the same fears, right? And I couldn't shake them, right? There was just this idea of like the imposter syndrome or fear of the unknown or fear of letting people down. It was always there. And I was like, why is it always there? And then I heard this 3 times, the words we never want to hear from a doctor is you have cancer. So I heard it in 2009, 2013, 2016, right?
Wow.
And every time I went through it and I recovered and I went back to work, and people would say, wow, you're fearless. You're the most courageous person I know. You must not be scared of anything. And I was like, Jesus, I'm just as scared of this weird, mundane place called the office that is not really scary looking, but yes, holds all of these, fears. And I still got dry mouth going to meetings. I still got nervous going to ask for a raise, wondering my own value. And this was like supposedly at the top of my career when I also had gone through something so traumatic that I should not have these fears anymore. And I was just wondering like why I wasn't as fearless as what everyone thought I was, and I think that was the strangest part of that, like you could say like 4th chapter.
I'm curious, which was scarier, cancer or The Office?
Well, cancer is interesting. You just go through it and there's scary moments, but I think so much of the office, which really fascinated me and, led to, some other projects was that, why are there all these strange made up fears that we have as we walk the halls, as we go into client meetings, as we, hand wringing and, constant worries and waking up with those fears and going to bed with them. And it's like, where does this keep coming from?
Yeah, I also think in the land of creativity, especially in advertising,
Yeah.
you know, it's such a subjective business. And then I would see at least some other people who were clearly way smarter than me who had paired up. So art director, creative, copywriter. And I always felt like I was a revolving door with other art director partners.
Mm.
And even today on the leadership side, I always say it's like so lonely to be the leader. But I felt so lonely
Mm.
back in my back in those moments. Now again, I'm an optimist, and my I wonder my sort of short circuit you have cancer moment came when 9/11 hit,
Right.
and I was living downtown, and I remember I have this like 3-page handwritten note that I wrote to myself. And I think this was the break into chapter 5. It's sort of shitty that it took a moment like watching planes hit buildings where in my mind things slowed it down and it flipped and I stopped feeling sorry for myself. And I went from chapter 3, which is this is a problem, to chapter 4, this is my life, to chapter 5, which is wait a minute, this is my problem. This is my problem.
Yeah.
And if I don't do anything about this problem, it's funny. I've been playing around. I got my little newsletter. The idea of victims and victories. And it's really hard to play the victim card and have a lot of victories. You just kind of talk to yourself that you're a victim. They're victims. I mean, they're victims. That's not where we're going here. But like when the minute I took ownership that, okay, what am I going to do about this? This is my problem.
Yeah.
And have been in the business long enough now to know there are certain rules to the game. Which ones can I bend and break and which ones can't I? That I think on the creative side of my life started to turn around. Does this ring a
I
bell?
think it's a great point. Look, I think when you realize, and when I realized that all, like your boss wants or a the person you're working for, the project you're on, the person leading it, they want you to do something that they've never seen before, right? So and I know that sounds very obvious, but we don't always go into it that way. We go into that thing of like, I want to please them. So what do they want? What are they looking for? And then when you're thinking about what they're looking for, whether it's a client or whether it's a boss, you start to get into that pleasing mode. And then when you don't please them, you quickly can become a victim, right? So rather than like, well, I'm going to lead with what I think is right. And I'm going to, where that courage to have that conviction. And then if that person doesn't accept that, it's like, oh, that's fine. I'm going to go either do it somewhere else or show it to someone else, but continue on that journey of what I creatively think is right. And I think that's a huge thing to overcome or to discover as a creative, right? Anyone in, I think, any job is to get out of that mode of just always trying to please someone.
Yeah, that leads us to my version of the last chapter in the book, which was, this is my moment. And to me, this is my moment. What you're not even thinking about, this is my moment in the moment. You're just thinking about, I have a clear point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah, you care and you don't care at the same time. And for me, it still took stumbling. I was 29 when I started my first agency. It was 4 of us out of a house. Had really no fear and stubbornness is what got us through it.
Yeah.
And I'll remember that we could not miss. We didn't have the revenue to miss. So you're working on like 16 things at one time. Now they weren't looking for immense magic like when you're working for a three network at the time. But we had finally graduated up to Pony shoes. Remember Pony?
Sure.
And the CEO had come from Nike. This is the first time I think I'm sharing the story where it's recorded. So this is me about to get myself in trouble. But this is what I mean by you have to care and don't care at the same time. And at the time, I was just so happy that we finally were getting into a room with the brand people had heard about. And because the CEO had come from Nike, he wanted to do a Nike strategy. And we felt that was off. But because we didn't want to go into the room without making sure we appease the client, we brought a safer idea into the room and the idea that we thought we should go with. And to us, it was obvious where we thought we could push them. But the CEO was so locked in on a performance strategy, competing with Nike. Who knows why? Maybe because he wanted to stick it to him because he was from there. Maybe he thought that was right. They had signed Randy Moss after his huge season. And so we present these two ideas. And the one that we had suggested, the concept Pony stood for Product of New York. And we were going to go right after the fashion side on Pony. And presented this idea. Okay, we took care of the performance idea, and then this is the idea we really think. And the CEO's like, let's go with the performance idea. And we're like, whoa, wait a minute. No. Like, we recommend this idea. And I remember him saying in the room, and I was on the call for this, him saying, Ryan, you can pull this off, right? You can help us pull this idea off, right? And I folded. And I folded like a lawn chair and was like, okay, we'll try it. And of course, our intuition was right. It didn't work. I knew it wasn't going to work. 6 months later, we're walked out of that building. They're just like, all they care or think about, they don't remember that conversation. They're just like, oh, Ryan's company isn't very good at this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. It's, yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's a tricky kind of rope to walk, right? Because you're in a service place, but you know, we're in an idea business, and we're in brand building, and we have an expertise that we need to represent. And rather than being in just, thinking about advertising as a service business, thinking about it as like this, there's an expertise and a brand building capability that we have that, that's what we need to be selling. And, rather than, just servicing a client over and over again.
See that this was my true, like, I promise I will never put myself in a position, right, where my point of view isn't clear. You talked about courage. So to me, my moment was like a combination of, I had to go through that moment where I got stained and burned. And again, when your company is called Courageous, it's pretty clear now who we're for and who we're not for. But like, I remember that moment. And chapter 6 is, this is my moment. It is, you have a point of view. It is, you're 2 feet in. It is, you're not, you're burning the bridge, and here you go. And I look at what you're doing, and you've done so much in the business. And here you are. I think you're on chapter 6. It's fearincorporated.com, Fear-Incorporated. Talk to me a little bit about how this moment came about. Where did this idea come from, and why now?
Yeah. After coming out of those rounds of cancer, hearing all of those people say to me, well, you must be fearless. You're the most courageous person I know, and not feeling that way. I was really wondering why. And I realized I needed to understand fear. I needed to understand where it came from and what it was. And then I realized I didn't know anything about it. Right. And as I started to dive in, I'm going to write down what I know about fear. And I realized, well, fear's scary. I don't want to be around fear. And I'm like, well, this doesn't count. These aren't knowing anything about it. So I just started writing down all of the things that fear does to me. And what started to form was this, list of principles of what fear does, and those lists became longer and longer. And I'm realizing fear's really good. It's really good at what it does. It's efficient. It's quick. We spike many more fearful moments during the day than courageous ones. And so I thought, I'm going to learn all about how good fear is at what it does. So I created these principles of failure, that if I followed these principles to the letter, I would fail. This is fear's playbook. And I just kept listing it. And then I started looking at businesses, and I started looking at, how, people that I worked with, how they acted, and how things like, these gaps that form in companies from fear. And I was like, well, that's really interesting. And, we know them as silos, people who believe that their way should be the way, rather than partnering with someone and changing the way something is done. And I'm like, wow, fear created that. And then it calcifies a way of thinking. And I'm just like, by stopping thinking about fear as fearful and respecting it and going, damn, you are amazing at what you do. And think about it. Fear has sharpened its weapons on like the souls of the best warriors through the history of humankind, right? There's, the fact that I'm going to conquer it by just charging through it without understanding it is like, playing Jordan in a game of horse, and just, hey, I think I can win, You're not going to win. You're not going to win. So these lists became principles. These principles I should do a version of a business book, right? And it was, kind of my take on it, more of a satirical take on the business book genre. and it's Fear: The Indispensable Guide to Successfully Failing. And like I said, it's essentially Fear's playbook, and it's in the works now. We're shopping it around, and it's really interesting to see how even the publishing world starts to look at it, because they want to categorize it. It's not really a business book. It's like, I'm like, oh, well, it is written towards a business perspective. It's more humor, or it's more gift giving, and it's so every company, every business has these silos. And you must see this as well with the companies you work with. People naturally, and they don't do it out of spite, but they do it out of what they think is right. And it just naturally happens.
Well, yeah, you're, in the spirit of the topic, right? I always felt for my book, it took a year of research.
Yeah.
And what people don't really get about our business, they just sort of see the end product on TV. It's like, we're detectives first. Like, we're detectives. We're sleuths trying to uncover a real insight on why we operate the way that we do. And then, of course, you can't just say that. You have to then sort of dress it up on Halloween, right? So people come to the conclusion on their own. So it took a year of detective work, then a year of the lipstick, what's the writing. And this is the problem I think you're going to run into. And it's so, the irony, right? It's like, and then a year to understand the publishing business, which, by the way, is only riddled with fear. The last thing they want to do is, because like they're not the CEO of their publishing company. They have to go back and then present your idea to it's like Gladiator with the thumbs up and the thumbs down, depending on if they like it. And so they're like, well, Terrace, tell me about, this is a great topic. How many people are following you on Instagram? What's your Twitter following like?
Yeah.
Right. And so all of the fear questions, because that was the irony for my book, a book about courage, and no one wanted to take a risk on the topic.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Although I just want to caveat what you said. Everyone who's interested in publishing my book is fearless. So but you are right. The publishing community is like every other business. It is no different. They're fulfilling what they're being asked to do. But there are those fearless souls out there who want to bend something, and those are the ones. It takes time to find them and meet them, and I'm sure you find this with even the companies you work with. You get inside of it and you meet some people and you go, wow, you are really interesting, and you're working at like the middle layer of a company, and you want to figure out how to open them up to give them a courageous voice and say what they believe, because those are the future leaders. But I think once you think about fear and it's around, like you start to recognize it around you and not be scared of it, it's a really interesting a really exciting kind of project to kind of list out the ones that you come across and then go, wow, look, it made me do this. It stopped me from doing this. Mm-hmm. It wants me to go over here, and not be frustrated by it or upset by it, but going, damn, it's good. It's really good. And that's what Fear Incorporated is. How does it, from a consultancy perspective, we can help run your company into the ground. If you follow everything that, Fear Incorporated will tell you about, what companies do in their worst place, you will follow that history and repeat it.
Well, again, it's a fun research assignment because you're uncracking the concept of fear and how it takes us down. And I loved some of the principles. I mean, I feel like we're coming at this differently, but we're saying the same thing for sure, right? Like your principles, some of the principles you can find on the website is, and I love this, if you no longer try, you will no longer fail. Or focus on flaws, eliminate support, alienate reason, repeat incessantly. I mean, again, it's like, are you with us or are you against us is sort of the idea. And then I challenge everyone to sort of check out, I think as of last week, There's the new manifesto that's come out. I describe this not as a manifesto, but as a oh man a festo. I mean, it's really a oh man a festo, and in the spirit of just sharing a little bit. And I share because I think, I mean, not surprisingly, you're an exceptionally talented writer too. So this is how the manifesto goes for Fear Incorporated. This is: here's to the frightened ones, the cautious, the conformists, the hand wringers, the square pegs in the equally square holes, the ones who love playing it safe. And it continues down a little further down. You can't quote them, agree with them, or disagree with them because you've already forgotten them. About the only thing you can do is ignore them because they never changed anything. They push failure forward. And while some may see the frightened ones, we see genius because the people who are frightened enough to never change the world are the ones who never do. I mean, it's just so much fun. Like, are you just sort of hearing from all the right people at this point, like people that get it? Because it is community building.
Yeah, it really is building the community. The people who get it absolutely love it. And I was reading Rob Schwartz, a famous chief creative officer from TBWA. He has the thirds rule: a third will love it, a third will hate it, a third will ignore it. And he goes, just focus on the people who love it, because we tend to focus on the people who don't get it or don't like it, and we try to convince them. And so it was so refreshing to read that. So, because this is that kind of idea. I've gotten notes from people who are like, this is fantastic, this is amazing. And then also people who are like, why are you talking about how great fear is? Why are you, and it's like, why are you talking about no longer trying? It's like, no, this is. So then rather than trying to convince people, I'm just going to keep going down this path. And
it's a long game, my friend. It's a slow cooked idea. And again, I'm, broken record in saying with our name, with Courageous, what I love most about it is it tells the world who we're not for as much as who we are for. And unfortunately, it's going to take a long time for the third. Yeah, with a topic like this, it might be a sixth, but that's okay because they're going to love it. Like, I think when you can actually find people that understand, they understood the assignment. I mean, that's what this is.
Yeah,
they're going to be along for the ride. So how can we help? Like, what's the best other than getting the word out and sharing? How can we help?
Oh, no, I just love that we're connected. I love getting your newsletter. I saw your thing, when I was researching fear and I came across your work, and I'm like, wow, you're right. We're getting to the same place, just from the opposite directions. And it's this understanding of how destructive this emotion, fear is, and we all share it, and we all avoid it, and we all don't want to talk about it, nor do we want to admit it. And I think the more that we can defang it and just have fun with it, we can trick fear into being our teacher. And by just going like, oh yeah, because we make it all up ourselves. Fear's made up in the amygdala of the brain. I've probably done this research, that little almond-shaped part of your brain that just keeps spitting out these little things, trying to either protect you or tell you that where you are is perfect, to not go forward. And I think that's the stuff that we have to kind of overcome.
And by the way, when you kind of like glazed over it, but when you say we all have it, we all have it. Like we all have it. Like that's the thing. It's just like, how much do you realize that you've got it? And everyone is afraid. Like, look around the room when you're walking. If you're listening to this in a subway in New York right now, look around. Like every single person on that subway, they're probably listening to a different podcast. They're afraid. They're afraid. And again, the aha moment I had was when I talked to people way smarter than me on the brain, on like how it works. And like it's even called the central nervous system. It's right there. It's not the central courage system. It's the central nervous. The central at the core of your body is the thing that's making you nervous. This is our standard operating system, and yet we don't talk about that. It seems odd to me.
Yeah, we don't spend enough time trying to understand it and realize that it's, natural. It's this spark that happens in our bodies and in our brains, and the fight or flight, the continual notion of it to, one, to keep us safe, but also to keep us safe where we currently are. And I think in that case, we then fall into this element of like the familiar misery. It's like, well, why change? This is pretty good. This will do. I don't need to do anything else. I'm kind of comfortable where I am and I should be fine. And it's like, well, that's fear. That's fear telling you that the unknown is so terrifying that you're not going to try something. And I think, just understanding that.
So, for the listener, my challenge to you is in about 10 seconds, I'd love you to pause this episode and like ask yourself or write down, where's fear winning in your life? Where's fear absolutely just dominating? Like, it's just a sweep. It's just shrinking your ambitions. And just take 30 seconds. If you've got paper, you want to write it on your phone, I would love to know, like, just do a little self-exploration on where fear is currently winning, and pause, and then come back, and we'll get back into it.
I love that. Yeah.
Terrace, I want to know where to the same question to you. Where's fear winning in your life right now?
Well, it's interesting. And I don't know if this aligned the way it did, but as I was going through this journey of listing all of these fears, and I was going to like, well, I'm going to follow these fears and I'm going to see if it can help me become a successful failure. And if I followed all these fears, and then at the beginning of this year, it did, because I got caught up in all the latest layoffs, and I was like, wow, I have, in the world of things that have always terrified me, of what's my job, what's my identity, I have lost that. I have. And it was terrifying, right? But then it was like, wow, I'm living this journey that I'm trying to go on. And it was like, it works. It's so good. It was like, yeah. And then it's like, what do I learn from this? How do I, and over the last couple of months, it's been unpacking that and trying to figure out, what do I want to do next? What do I really want to do, rather than just finding another job? What do I want to do rather than just succeed at being successful? How does this help shape the next chapter? And that's where I'm at the tumultuous, exciting, terrifying moment.
Yeah, I would put this under the negative blessing arena, and it's messy and it's not clear, which is tough when you're in the clarity business, because you want things to be controlled and clear. It's like you got to clear first. But so do you find that you're just like giving yourself a lot of grace, or are you at peace with where you are right now?
Now I'm much more. In the first month, it was the farthest thing from grace, honestly. Right. It was, the fear that overtook was just, well, you just have to find a job, just get a job. It's like, well, all right. Luckily, there weren't any jobs because no one was hiring. So I was actually saved from making a mistake and just taking something because I should or had to, and just letting myself live with it, and realizing you're given this opportunity to, one, you've started this project that could be, is it something more? Is Fear Incorporated more than something? It's given me the hours to say, like, how do I create a spokesperson for Fear Incorporated from AI? So, how do I dive down that rabbit hole, which has been incredibly hilarious and fun and to do that, and, write things like the manifesto and connect with people who believe in the project and cared about it to help it get made.
I mean, worst case scenario, I think it's the best sort of, I don't like the word resume, but like, it says who you are. Like, it says your point of view. If that third who kind of smile and go, this is hilarious, and honest, will want to obviously hire you, work with you and whatnot. But one of the things you said, as you were sharing, you kind of said the word, like, is this another, like, yet again? You were about to say yet again. Like, do you feel like you've had a bunch of, like, here I go yet again taking a job fast in advertising because that's me doing it to be successful versus what's really right
Yeah.
for you?
Well, I think it was always, since it's always been my identity, right? Well, you're a creative director, you're a chief creative officer, you're a writer, so you must do that. You must have that job. And I know we share a friend in Kirk Souter, and he's an amazing coach, and he was my executive coach for a number of years. And as we would do work, we would get to a certain point, and he'd go, "Oh, and then I saw you took yet another big job." And I said, "Why are you saying it like that? Like it's a terrible thing?" He goes, "No, no, I think you were about to break through something, and then you just reverted back to what you knew." And it's one thing to understand those coaching lessons, but then to live through them is a much different thing. And yeah, I took a lot of those jobs, I think, because I thought I had to take them because that's who I was and that's who people thought I was.
Mm. Yeah, I in the spirit of the show, I will fully admit that I don't have it all figured out.
No, none
You
of
know,
us do.
well, it's easy to talk about, but like I still am terrified. I still have fear. I still am scared that I'm gonna have to go back to an old life.
Mm,
You know, I, I think it's part of being human,
yeah.
and so I allow myself to still have the conversation, and then also remind myself. And I think you're saying this very differently. That fear is actually a good guy. Fear can be an
Yeah.
amazing motivator. Like when you say fear is amazing, what it can make people do. For me, this is a canned Bermanism from a stage, but I'm like, I'm not a FOMO guy. I'm a FOMF guy. I'm a fear of missing fear guy.
Yeah.
And
It's
the
a good
goal,
one.
right? Like the goal is to, like, what is the biggest fear we could take on and punch in the nose, shrink down together. And sadly, there's another fear right behind that one that then has to get punched in the nose.
Yeah.
And so identity is a real thing. We have this, I think we all have this idea how we think life's supposed to go, and so
Yeah.
that's a big part of it.
It's when you meet someone and they say, "Well, what do you do?" And you immediately have to describe and either explain or defend or do something. And so yeah, so I think there's a really interesting personal challenge that we all face all the time, which is what's our identity? How do what do we want to be when we grow up?
Now, I will say, I think my identity now, and maybe this is chapter 7, which is after this is my moment, this is my point of view, is that courage sets you free.
Mm,
And if you ask me, well, Ryan, do you see yourself doing this, whatever this is, for the rest of my life? The answer is like, oh my God, that'd be amazing, because sometimes it's courageous people, it's courageous leaders and courageous teams. Sometimes it's courageous ideas.
yeah.
Sometimes it's courageous reinvention. Anywhere where liberation, if I could do this, it may show up. The vessels may look different. I mean, I would be so happy. Is that how you see this for
I,
you?
I'm not at that chapter yet, so it's exciting to see that chapter exists because as I create this, whether you call it a brand or a positioning or a place to believe from, like a platform, I think it can be. I think it can be that, and it's just myself believing that, right?
You know what? I'm having a little. Maybe this is what it is. It might be a little breakthrough. So I think maybe this is my purpose. Is the chapter I'm on, and I saw something from Scott Galloway. You know Galloway,
Sure.
and then he said to a room full of students, anyone who says, follow your passion probably already made their money, and that they were bullshit and don't do that. And I'm here to tell you, that's bullshit. It is complete bullshit. Like, do not waste 10 hours of your day doing something that makes you unhappy. This is not an exercise in what you can tolerate or resilience. Go out and find the thing that lights you up, and then find a way to make money doing that. That's what I would say.
I think that's absolutely true and absolutely right. I think and while you've, taken, us on this personal journey of yourself through the advertising world, and it's very similar to mine, I'm realizing the same thing. I have less tolerance for people who are not willing to be courageous, who are, shackled with fear. And it's like, all right, I just don't have time for it. It's not that I don't like you or don't want to be here doing it, but it's just like, life's too short. Right. And, but I think where you've created this platform of courage and courageous and having that excitement to be able to get up and say, yeah, I want to do this with people, for people, is wonderful. And I just love that I can even, go through this session, this therapy session with you, because it's giving me the courage to say, like, yeah, this Fear Incorporated thing could be something.
Oh, it's something. Yeah, it's a two-way street. I just think you're just in the chopping wood phase. It's like, keep chopping wood. There's no doubt that it's something. It's just finding that you're people. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I'm like, I want to figure out a way to bring you into some of the stuff we're doing, just because you're just coming at it. You're going to unlock a different type of person than what we're
Right.
saying. The same thing. It's just the way you unlock them is differently. And I could totally see the book, and we may have even talked about this before, but like, just shit that's redacted is funny, and like fear causes like a whole page of
Yeah.
redacted.
Yeah.
So there's, I'm sure, I guess you're onto something when people like me give you ideas on your idea. And,
That's right.
That's how you're on your way.
Yeah, just the fact that, I think we should just laugh at it more. And, that immediately, I think, knocks fear off of its footing. It's like, well, wait a minute, why are you, it's like, I have a section in the book that's, laughter is fear's Achilles heel. Because the minute someone laughs, they relax and they're not fearful. So the section is, how do you then make the business community, or like your office, as serious as possible, and to walk around with a furrowed brow and arms crossed, and this needs to be serious because business is serious.
Poor offices, like, it would be nice to go back to the origin of offices, when they just wanted to be happy and nice places for people to congregate. Now with remote work, no one even wants to go into office. It's like, office is the enemy. Is that what happened? All right, Terrace. Hey, man, thank you so much for coming on the show. Let me make sure I got this right. First, fear-incorporated.com. Check it out. Awesome stuff. I love the manifesto video.
Thank you.
And then the art, again, chapter 1, this is amazing. Chapter 2, this is a concern. Chapter 3, this is a problem. Chapter 4, this is my life. Chapter 5, this is my problem. Chapter 6, this is my moment. And chapter 7, I think this is my purpose. Like, this is, if I could do this every day and get, paid to do it, oh my gosh, happy place. Hey, will you stay in touch?
Absolutely, Ryan. Thank you for this. And then on Instagram, if you want to find it on Instagram, it's fear_incorporated. So either way, I'd love everyone to visit those and to check out some of the stuff. Ryan, this is terrific. I look forward to staying in touch, and stay courageous.
Hey, watch out for that fear, okay? It's there.
You got it, man.
See you, Terrace. Thanks, buddy.
Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Courageous Podcast. If you enjoy the show, don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts so more people can find us. See you again next week.